Title: Flu season affecting kids harder than usual, warns healthcare workers. Healthcare workers have issued a warning to parents as the flu season arrives early and hits young children harder than usual. The low vaccination rates and the early onset of the flu season have caused reported cases to more than double from 32,000 at the end of April to over 68,000 cases as of yesterday. Young children are being infected at much higher rates than other age groups, and more than 300 children under 16 have been admitted to hospitals. Experts say that low immunity from the COVID years is one reason why children could be more at risk this flu season. Title: Construction industry insolvency crisis hurts homeowners and builders. The construction industry insolvency crisis in Australia is affecting both homeowners and builders, leaving many families in dire straits. The collapse of dozens of building companies over the past year has left many signing contracts with new firms, only to face delays or additional costs. The HomeBuilder grant introduced in June 2020 as part of the government's economic response to COVID the 19th of May have contributed to the problem. With supply chain issues, inflation, and labor shortages, builders have been unable to finish projects due to increased costs of raw materials. The industry is calling for government intervention to address the issue. Title: Tenant wins appeal to keep Chihuahua in Brisbane rental property. A Brisbane tenant has won an appeal to keep her Chihuahua in her rental property, marking the first test of Queensland's new pet laws. The new laws, introduced in October 2022, require landlords to provide a reason for refusing a tenant's request to have a pet. The legislation specifies that animals can be refused if they are dangerous, the property is unsuitable due to its size and security, or if they are not allowed under body corporate bylaws. Despite her initial request being declined, the tenant and her partner were successful in their appeal and were able to welcome their new pet to their home. The Ben Roberts-Smith verdict has shocked the military. But why didn't its leaders act sooner? Retired Corporal Ben Roberts-Smith's defamation case has brought to light a shameful period of Australian military history. The verdict has revealed war crimes committed by Australian Special Forces soldiers. However, it has also shown how the command and leadership of the Australian Defence Force (ADF) has failed. Despite early attention, it is unclear if progress has been made in addressing the cultural aspects of the Brereton Report. The Brereton Report identified three principal failings of leadership, including a culture of unethical behaviour and leaders being oblivious to unlawful conduct. The lack of accountability has resulted in widespread dissatisfaction in the ADF. Title: Judge finds Ben Roberts-Smith not an honest witness as full defamation judgment released. Justice Anthony Besanko has released the full defamation judgment in the case brought by Ben Roberts-Smith against 3 newspapers and 3 journalists. The judgment reveals that Justice Besanko dismissed Roberts-Smith's claims, stating that he was not an honest witness. The ruling follows a summary of the case which was released last week, with the full judgment delayed to allow for government redactions related to national security. The 720-page document contains significant findings including evidence of war crimes committed by Australian soldiers in Afghanistan. This case has raised important questions about the accountability of the military and the media. Hashtags. New South Wales Council fined after tip management leaves stench over coastal town. The city of Coffs Harbour has been fined $20,000 after a judge found it was aware of its obligations to maintain its gas collection system, but failed to do so. The New South Wales Environment Protection Authority (EPA) brought 2 charges related to breaches of the council's environment protection licence of its Englands Road waste facility between August 2020 and November 2021. Residents complained to the EPA about the smell coming from the tip at the time, which was caused by a blocked gas flow line. The council accepted the outcome and said the cause has since been rectified. Former real estate agent admits to stealing from clients to fund dying wife's medical bills. A former real estate agent has admitted to embezzling almost $770,000 from business accounts to finance luxury holidays, entertainment and medical bills for his dying wife. The court heard Richard Hayden, 56, stole money that should have gone to clients for their home deposits, causing Hayden Real Estate, a 100-year-old family company, to close in 2019. While the judge acknowledged that Hayden's actions stemmed from depression and stress, he also recognized that dozens of victims suffered as a result of his actions. Hayden is likely to receive a prison sentence for his spectacular lapse of judgment. Title: Coroner finds safety measures lacking in Finke Desert Race spectator death. A coronial inquest into the death of a spectator at the Finke Desert Race in 2021 has found safety measures to be entirely inadequate. Nigel Harris, 60, died from multiple blunt force injuries when a competing trophy truck veered off the track and crashed into a group standing at a popular spectator site. The inquest heard that both Motorsport Australia and the Finke Committee had been aware of the extreme danger posed to spectators for years but had done little to mitigate risks. The judge recommended that the NT government ensure adequate spectator safety measures are implemented. Title: Options for Kathleen Folbig after being released from prison. Kathleen Folbig has been pardoned and released from prison 20 years after being jailed for killing her 4 children. However, she has several legal options available to her. Firstly, her convictions must be quashed by a referral from Tom Bathurst KC to the Court of Criminal Appeal. If successful, she could sue the New South Wales government for compensation or seek an ex gratia payment. However, compensation for wrongful conviction is a notoriously difficult process in Australia. More likely, she may receive an ex gratia payment from the Attorney General. For now, Ms. Folbig is taking her time to enjoy her freedom. Woman who suffered life-changing burns after ex-partner allegedly set her on fire described as wonderful mother. A mother of 3 who suffered burns to 40% of her body in an alleged domestic violence incident is described as a kind and caring person. Peter Moyler faced Perth Magistrates Court on Sunday charged with aggravated grievous bodily harm after the mother of 3 allegedly suffered life-changing injuries when a car was set on fire in Perth's eastern outskirts. The 33-year-old woman remains in a serious condition after being airlifted to hospital with serious burns. A friend of the woman, Shayla Brooks, described her as one of the kindest people she had ever known, and as someone who was always willing to help others. Link. India's worst railway disaster in decades has killed at least 275 people. Here's what we know. At least 275 people have been killed and nearly 1,200 more injured in a horrific 3-train pileup in the eastern Indian state of Odisha. The high-speed Coromandel Express hit a stationary freight train, jumped the tracks and derailed the Yeshwantpur-Howrah Express passenger train passing in the opposite direction just before 7 p.m. on Friday near Bahanagar Bazar station. It was among the deadliest train incidents in India's history, and the worst in decades. Indian Railways investigators are probing an electronic track management system that they suspect malfunctioned. Police search underway for inmates after alleged escape from Darwin Prison. Northern Territory Police are searching for 2 inmates who allegedly escaped from Darwin's prison over the weekend. Police allege Jamie Lauder, 20, and Justin Roberts, 23, escaped from the low-security compound of the Darwin Correctional Facility in Holtz on Saturday night. Anyone with information regarding the whereabouts of the pair is urged to contact police on 131444. Title: Thousands march in Polish anti-government protests in Warsaw. An estimated 500,000 Polish citizens marched in the capital city of Warsaw to protest against their right-wing populist government. The Law and Justice (PiS) party, in power since 2015, has been accused of eroding the rule of law, controlling state media, and endorsing homophobia. Critics say the party has reversed many of Poland's achievements since emerging from communist rule in 1989 and imposing socially conservative policies. Protesters chanted "democracy" and "constitution." Former President Lech Wałęsa and Donald Tusk, the leader of the opposition Civic Platform Party, also joined the rally. The marchers hope to halt the erosion of democracy in Poland. Title: Coles and Woolworths accused of illicit payment structure resulting in workers being underpaid. Australia's Fair Work Ombudsman has accused Coles and Woolworths of setting up a payment system foreign to Australia's industrial awards system, resulting in store workers being underpaid for several years. The federal court heard the joint trial that had been brought by the Fair Work Ombudsman and two class action claimants. Last week, Coles revealed that it had set aside $25 million to reimburse salaried managers it had underpaid. Woolworths has also previously disclosed underpaying thousands of employees around $390 million Australian dollars. The trial, which is expected to run for 7 weeks, continues. Tip-off helps police track down prisoner after hospital escape. A prisoner who escaped police custody while being treated at a Rockhampton hospital has been found and recaptured after a successful tip-off from the community. Barry Kenneth Bloomfield, who was serving a 2.5-year sentence for assault occasioning actual bodily harm, allegedly fled on foot after removing his handcuffs. The police search lasted 2 days and ended with Bloomfield's arrest in a North Rockhampton home. Bloomfield has now been charged with escaping lawful custody and will appear in court at a later date. Queensland Corrective Services has announced an investigation into the incident. Disgraced war veteran may have committed criminal offence, judge finds. A federal court judge has found that Ben Roberts-Smith, a war veteran, may have committed a criminal offence. This was due to his sending of threatening letters to a former SHASH colleague. The veteran's case against 3 newspapers was dismissed and he sued the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age, the Canberra Times and 3 journalists. The war veteran denied allegations of war crimes, bullying, and domestic violence. The judge found that allegations of Mr. Roberts-Smith's involvement or complicity in 4 unlawful killings in Afghanistan were substantially true. The judgment, which runs to more than 720 pages, also includes a finding that Mr. Roberts-Smith was not an honest and reliable witness. Title: Mother charged with daughter's manslaughter granted bail for home detention to clean up squalid rental. Crystal Leanne Hanley, who was charged with the manslaughter and neglect of her 6-year-old daughter, has been granted bail for home detention. Ms. Hanley cried during the video link hearing, where she was handed a 7-day jail sentence for breaching her bail conditions after she tested positive for methamphetamine. Her lease for the Munno-Para unit will not be renewed if it is not fixed by Friday. The prosecutor described the house as cluttered, a fire hazard, unhygienic and unsuitable for human habitation. Hanley is also facing 4 other criminal neglect charges. Title: Widow of chef Jock Zonfrillo shares heartfelt message on Instagram. Lauren Fried, the widow of renowned chef Jock Zonfrillo, has spoken publicly for the first time since her husband's death in a video posted on his Instagram account. Fried expressed her gratitude for the outpouring of love and support from fans all over the world and stated that she wished Zonfrillo knew how much he was loved. She also discussed her plans for Zonfrillo's social media accounts and asked for feedback from his followers on what content they would like to see. The celebrated judge of MasterChef Australia was found dead in a Melbourne hotel room in May. Governments to end gillnet fishing on the Great Barrier Reef by 2027 in really significant outcome. The federal and Queensland governments have announced that gill nets will be completely banned from the Great Barrier Reef by mid-2027. Gill nets have been identified as a significant danger to multiple threatened and protected marine species. The governments have allocated over $160 million in funding to reduce high-risk fishing activities around the Great Barrier Reef, including net fishing. WWF Australia and the Australian Marine Conservation Society have been calling for the fishing practice to be banned, alleging the number of endangered species killed after becoming entangled in gill nets was underreported. This decision is a significant win for conservationists. Title: 2 Australians granted clemency in Vietnam following diplomatic intervention. Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, has announced that 2 Australian citizens who were facing the death penalty in Vietnam have been granted clemency. The identities of the Australians have not been revealed, as their families have requested privacy. Albanese has just returned from an official visit to Vietnam where he had lobbied the government to intervene. The Prime Minister said that the successful outcome of the case was due to improved relationships between Australia and Vietnam. The move comes as tensions between Beijing and Washington were on full display at the Shangri-La Dialogue Summit in Singapore, where Albanese delivered the keynote speech. Title: Melissa Caddick's parents ordered to vacate Sydney apartment over alleged fraudster's $23 million Ponzi scheme. A long-running legal dispute over a Sydney eastern suburbs property owned by the parents of alleged Ponzi scheme fraudster Melissa Caddick has been settled. Caddick disappeared in November 2020 after the Australian Securities and Investment Commission raided her family home. She was accused of stealing over $23 million. Her decomposed foot later washed up on a New South Wales South Coast beach, but how and where she died remains unclear. The Grimleys, Caddick's parents, must vacate the Edgecliff apartment within 6 weeks to receive a payout of $950,000. Over 50 investors are represented in a federal court case seeking to recoup funds through the sale of Caddick's assets, including the property. Title: Dozens of Afghan schoolgirls poisoned in 2 separate attacks. Nearly 80 schoolgirls have been hospitalized after 2 primary schools for girls in northern Afghanistan were poisoned. 60 students were poisoned in Naswan-e Kabod School and 17 were poisoned in Naswan-e-Faizabad School in the district of Sari-Pol. The attacks were carried out one after the other by unknown perpetrators. Girls are banned from education beyond 6th grade and women are barred from most jobs and public spaces in Afghanistan. The Taliban administration has kept these bans in place since 2021. The department's investigation is ongoing, but initial inquiries show that someone with a grudge paid a third party to carry out the attacks. Title: Lack of affordable dental care leaves pensioner Sherry unable to chew food properly. Description: Sherry Williams, a pensioner from Queensland, can't chew, talk, or swallow her medication properly due to dental problems she can't afford to fix. Because of a lack of affordable dental care, Sherry is missing several teeth, including her front teeth, and is embarrassed to go out in public. Dental care professionals warn that many people view dental care as an out-of-pocket expense, and waiting lists are growing in both the private and public sectors due to workforce shortages. This story highlights the urgent need for affordable and accessible dental care for all. Publication date: Monday 5 June 2023, 18 hours 46 minutes and 12 seconds plus 0000 link. Queensland pensioner Sherry Williams used to be an active member of her community. She was a gymnastics coach and a volunteer. She loved to smile and spend time with her family. That is no longer the case, after she was unable to afford dental services and now has no front teeth on the bottom and is missing others on the top. Sherry says it's difficult to do simple tasks like to chew food. It is embarrassing to go out in public, she adds. People have missed their hygiene appointments during COVID. We are seeing more broken teeth and all that kind of emergency work, says Dr. Padma Gadiyar, founder and CEO of Smilo AI. She says a big problem is that people view dental care as an out-of-pocket expense and therefore something that is just for the rich or the affluent or those who can afford it. Even if patients try to access dental care early, Dr. Gadiyar says waiting lists across. Detective believed crash that killed mother and 4 children was retaliation against husband, inquest told. An inquest is examining the cause of a collision on the Bunya Highway in May 2019, which killed 2 boys and 2 girls, all aged 6 and under, and their mother, Charmaine McLeod. Detective Senior Constable Maurice Cottrell testified on Monday emphasizing the allegations made by Ms. McLeod against her ex-husband James McLeod, which were penned in a note found at the scene, led to her killing herself and their 4 children. Besides, the detective handling the case for the coroner had come to an ultimate conclusion that Ms. McLeod intentionally caused the crash in retaliation against Mr. McLeod and the family court. Police detained 23 people in Hong Kong on Tiananmen anniversary. Hong Kong police detained 23 people on Sunday for breaching public peace and arrested a 53-year-old woman for obstructing police officers during the 34th anniversary of the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown. Authorities ramped up security for the event, and restrictions in Hong Kong have stifled what were once the largest vigils. Hundreds of police conducted stop-and-search operations and deployed armored vehicles and police vans. Hong Kong activists say such police action is part of a broader campaign by China to crush dissent in the city. The United Nations said it was alarmed by the detentions in Hong Kong. Title: Luai backs Nicker Hines to replace Cleary in Origin 2. New South Wales 5/8 Jerome Luai has given his endorsement for Cronulla playmaker Nicker Hines to replace the injured Nathan Cleary in State of Origin 2. Cleary will miss up to 6 weeks due to a hamstring tear, leaving the Blues without his precise kicking game for the important match in Brisbane on June 21. Luai believes that Hines, who won the Dally M medal last year and made his debut as bench utility in Adelaide last week, is ready to step up and make an impact. New South Wales has never saved a series in Brisbane, making Cleary's replacement a crucial decision for coach Brad Fittler. Title: Russia claims to have thwarted major Ukrainian offensive, Kyiv dismisses allegation as fake. Russia claims to have thwarted a major Ukrainian offensive in the Donetsk region, killing hundreds of troops, while Kyiv accuses Moscow of spreading false information. However, Ukraine's military on Monday denied any knowledge of a significant offensive that Russia claimed Kyiv had launched in the Donetsk region. Moscow's defense ministry said Ukraine had attacked on Sunday morning with 6 mechanized and 2 tank battalions in southern Donetsk, where Russia has long suspected Ukraine would seek to drive a wedge through Russian-controlled territory. Kiev dismissed the Russian claim as fake information.